Hey everybody, this is Mike at Crash Bushcraft, and we have Donny Pavolini with us tonight. He's
Hello,
going to be
everybody.
Donny is going to be filling in for Allen Hobbs. Allen had a run in with the cops today, or actually last week, so he won't be on the show for quite a while. His outlaw days have panned out to be pretty much for a while. So
Well, what you're saying is he fought the law and the law won.
they won. He was on his scooter. He was running about 41 miles an hour, top speed, in a 25. But he thought he could take them. And the next thing you know, his wife called and said that he was halfway to Florida with about 40 cops behind him.
Yeah.
Then she rolled over and punched him in the mouth and told him to shut up so she could get some sleep. No, Alan's actually having internet service hooked up for him. He'll have it hooked up hopefully by Thursday, so he'll be back next week with us. He did say he was going to try to stop into the show a little bit earlier, and or maybe on his phone. He won't be able to watch the whole show or anything because the gigabytes would just eat him up severely. I mean, to watch a hour show on this here would probably cost him about 8 gigabytes. So that would kill him on his plan. But he did say he was going to stop in and just tell everybody hi. So I didn't tell too many lies on him or anything like that. But Donnie and I spoke yesterday briefly, and we've kind of came up with this thing. We wanted to know what is bushcraft? What is wilderness skills? Which one are you? Which one are we? Are we really bushcrafters? Are we really trying to learn as much about the bushcrafting as possible? So, give us your little.
Excuse me. Another thing. Are we bushcrafters? Are we wilderness survivalists? Are we enthusiasts?
That's it.
Are we just caught up in the glamour, if you will? I know bushcrafting really isn't particularly glamorous to some folks, but to others it is. Somebody like me, I think it is. I think it's an exotic, unusual way to spend your time, particularly for more urban folk. I can see the mass appeal to people that live within cities and didn't grow up like we did out in the country or something like that. And I noticed obviously, if you watch the mainstream reality television shows on the History Channel, like Alone and others, on Discovery, Naked and Afraid, and things like this has a mass appeal, but very little true understanding. And so hopefully we come together tonight, not just with you and me, Mike, but with everybody else out there, and let's all see if we can understand it a little better.
I think you kind of nailed it yesterday whenever you made the comment. A lot of us, me guilty, I think you even said you were guilty of it. And you and I talked about how we're really just trying to get back to the basics of it and quit buying so much in the gear side of it.
That's right.
I think a lot of us are collectors, like you said. We go out and spend as much time as we can, but a lot of times we, look at the wall behind you. There's 6 totes of stuff over there. There's backpacks galore. Oh, that would be better. This would be better. And I think and me personally, I think I'm trying to find my niche. I'm trying to find what it is that I enjoy the most about all of it. And who knows, we may have our own little thing going on here and it be to come along and say, oh, this is the way to do it instead of the way that it's being taught or the way it's not.
There's a lot of truth in that. I think all of us, to a huge degree, possibly even more than we want to let on, are on this true road to discovery of where do we fit in this genre of outdoor activity.
I think that's a good one. I mean, I think that with that being said, where do we fit in? What is it that we are? Some people are woodsmen. Some people are hunters, woodsmen. Some people are just campers, and they have some of these skills of all of these different, categories that people put themselves, in for their, I don't know, I don't want to say school, but what they're teaching, you know, and things like that. I'm going to teach you how to be a woodsman and be able to go out, trap, and sustain and get your own food and build a shelter if you need it, and how to live and survive. Another one may be teaching you a different set of how to survive in a 72-hour scenario, you know, or how to survive if this happens. And then we get all of these mixed together and we're like, okay, I don't know which one I am anymore.
Right. Yeah. When I started my channel, I guess, you know, YouTube, I always open up with hello campers and bushcrafters, and campers being the first word, because truly, I'm not going to mix words about it, claim to be something I'm not. I'm an avid camper, and but I love all of the skills associated with bushcraft or wilderness living skills. Okay, that's what I'm really into. I admire and pay homage to the folks that have come before me. For instance, the Native American. I admire, or the pioneers, the settlers, the colonists. You know, all of that I find particularly fascinating. But where I fit in, first of all, I guess, I mean, I'm always going to be a camper first, because I really, really and truly love that. That's where I started. 7 years old by myself.
You know, and you're in the same age group that I am. And, you know, we as children, we had it safer, so to speak, you know, than the kids do now. But I've spoke of it before. It was nothing. I remember me and Chris Eaton, Michael Pettyjohn, and a couple of other guys, we would leave it after school was out for the summer. We would leave and ride bicycles down to Duck Creek, which was about 7 miles away. And we had, you know, if we were lucky, a tent, but we stayed for 2 or 3 days. Mom and them did. I mean, we're talking 7, 8, 9 years old. Mom and them had no worry about it, you know.
Heck yeah, it was a break for them. And a lot of
definitely it was. It was no more telling you to get out of the house and get outside.
That's right. You can't beat a youngin' to get them out of the house nowadays.
I'm glad Survival actually made it in. He had asked how to get into it, and they have changed. I don't know if anybody else is noticing this or not, but with Google and YouTube making their bust and their split, it's getting harder and harder to create a video and get to it and get people to it. It's like they're fighting each other. You know, I believe YouTube is fixing to do their own where you just bypass Google altogether. But we'll see.
Absolutely.
No, it was Duck Creek, Lafayette, Georgia. I think everybody's got a Duck Creek, because I passed one of them going up to where Allen lived at. I passed a Duck Creek sign that said Duck Creek 6 miles.
Duck Creek. Lord have mercy.
And I ain't never seen a duck in that creek. Never.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe they were all gone by the time they created the name for it.
That's probably right. When the word got out that the name of it was Duck Creek, they went over there and hunted it all out.
It might have been. But one of the biggest, I started reading these Nesmith series, and I'm not going to lie, I'm like many other folks. I didn't know who Nesmith was until I was in my 40s, maybe 37, 38, somewhere in there. I started reading some of the books, and later on I got to watching YouTube. And then I realized it's not all the same person, was one. The other thing that I realized is
one. I did. I thought it was one.
From my understanding, Horace Kepler, as most of us, is the writer. George Washington Sears is who he was writing about, which is Nesmith. From my understanding, I could be wrong from that, because it's so confusing, because you think you're reading George Washington or, you know, Sears or whatever, and it's just so confusing with it. But to me, what I have come to realize over the last few months, especially, is he was not a bush crafter. He was a woodsman. He was more of the outdoors person that would be able to go out and take all the amenities that he would need, camping basically is what it was, a journeyman camping or, something of that nature. Um, but some of the things that he talked about, a lot has gotten confused with this new term of bushcraft that apparently, from my research, only came about in the 80s, the late 80s. It started being named in Canada and the United States as bushcraft. But the term bushcraft is more about being able to go out with the bare necessities and fabricate everything that you need and be sustainable and live off the land for a permanent situation. Basically, Indians, or Native American Indians here, bushcrafters, they, up until we invented metals, and started creating them, they used everything from the land. They made their knives, your cavemen, bushcrafters. Um, Nesmith, not a bushcrafter. These are my opinions, but that's what we wanted to have this discussion about, was to see who was, and one of the knives that Nesmith carried, a lot of people says that it's a perfect bushcraft knife. Well, the thickness was an eighth inch, blade. It was thin, compared to what we have out there now. The other thing about it was used for skinning, because he states it in there. It's a good skinning knife. It's good for cutting meat, and it's good with eating with. Doesn't speak of anything about using it to baton with, using it for other things. He had an axe for those purposes. So it kind of, when I first started seeing all this YouTube, and then I seen that knife, and I thought, man, that would be a perfect knife. It's small. I like it. It's compact. It's a good size. It wouldn't be too bulky on me or anything like that. That would be a good bushcraft knife. So I made one, and I beefed it up. I made it a 1/4 inch, thickness. Well, that defeated the purpose of that thin knife, because now the edge wouldn't roll as good. You had a certain grind that you had to put on it because it wouldn't work. It now became a wood knife. Would it cut meat? Sure it would. But if I had to skin with it, heck no, it's too thick. So it wasn't a bushcraft knife anymore. It was just a design to be a bushcraft knife.
So when you're speaking specifically about this knife, so is it your opinion that a bushcraft knife, in the truest sense of your definition, would be a one tool option type knife, where that one knife did just about everything?
In a sense, it would be, if that's what you were going to rely on. You would want it to be thick enough. There for a while, I got into the batoning thing like everyone else, all you need is something that's going to carve, and would, to me, that knife make a decent one? Sure, it would. I mean, you could carve with it. You could do things, whittle things down with it. A big bulkier knife, if you're not going to carry an axe, then yeah, you would want the chopping power that it would have with it, the cutting power. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I watched his channel, and I don't know if we can kind of get a definition, but the knife kind of goes up like this, and it's a large knife, and the end of it is a convex grind, but the bottom part is a flat grind, like a just one-sided, not a two-sided blade. And the stuff that these guys were doing, I mean, they were taking and chopping down trees that were like this with it, and it wasn't a very thick blade at all. They were using it to shave, like a draw knife would, splitting. I mean, it was just amazing that this larger knife was almost a perfect everything that you needed if that was the only option that you had. The guy was carving with it, using the end of it. The way the grind down at the bottom was, he could still use it to carve with the end of it. I mean, he carved out a spoon with it and used this one knife. It was amazing to sit there and see it. So, but to me, it could be used. I would use it for it. But you know, the whole thing is not really what they're referring to as a bushcraft knife.
Right.
I'm a pocket knife guy.
Excuse me, Outdoor Ron 68 says, if I had to choose one, it would be a butcher knife. That's sort of a common thread that I see in some of the more accomplished bushcrafters, if you will. And I get it. I get it, especially those big old hickory knives. Those things they're tough.
I think the old hickory knife is, a lot of people are making that, you know, the Nesmic knife out of those, because it is that thin blade. It is flexible in a sense, and it is a butcher's knife. You know, I mean, and I guess that it's kind of a cut down butcher's knife.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that, you know, again, let's go where we are so far. Right now, we're making a distinction between wilderness woodsman skills as being taking man-made equipment out into the bush, as opposed to true bushcraft going into the bush and making the equipment. Is that correct? Pretty
much. That's what I'm thinking. That, to me, that's what it would be. I mean, I myself would fashion myself, and my channel name is even Crash Bushcraft. I think that I'm more woodsman. Can I do most of the stuff without the modern tools? Yes. I'm creative, not tooting my horn or anything like that, but I can figure things out pretty easily. What I can do with something, you know, it's just kind of a thing. But I think that I'm more woodsman than I would be bushcraft. Do I want to learn more in this sense of bushcraft? Yeah. You know, shelter building, it's a whip. I don't have to worry about it. If I don't have a tarp, I can make a shelter. You know, if I need to whip up a fire, sure, I can. There's 4 or 5 different methods, you know, 5 now with this fire roll, you know, so
yeah.
But do I prefer those? No, a Bic lighter. I mean,
I agree.
I prefer flint and steel. And one of the reasons, I don't remember if it was you that I talked with or not, a Bic lighter is, and you're going, as Derek had said, if you can't get a fire started with a Bic lighter, then how the heck are you going to get one started with any of the other primitive?
Absolutely.
More? But why I like to use flint and steel, I can find flint pretty much anywhere around the area that I'm in. It will strike off of any of the larger knives that I would carry, because I do kind of keep with the carbon and stuff. It's hard. It's not easy. But that's practice while I'm out there. If I go out there and I use my flint and steel to start the fire whenever I'm just camping, then I have practiced that skill and not just waited until I went out to the backyard and said, I'm going to start this fire here. I can do it. I've done it 1,000 times, because you'll be surprised at how many times that things can change just like that. You know, the climate is different. The wood's wet. You know, your char cloth got
down here.
You know, you shake your char cloth up in your little Altoid stand that we, you know, keep it in, and then we put our little piece of flint in there, and then we put our steel in there, and then we put some cotton balls in there, and then we made this perfect little kit. And why I'm speaking of this is because it has happened. You shake it, you jostle it. It's been in there for 6-7 months. It's been moving around. And then all of a sudden you get ready to get a piece of char cloth out, and it's just in pieces.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy crap. I'm glad I got a Bic lighter, you know, because there is a Bic lighter in that little kit. So I'm prepared for that. but it happens. And, you know, a lot of times, I don't know, maybe if I'm the only one that's ever done this, you know, and if you've never thought of this until now, check your char cloth now. Go pick out your little Altoids 10 and look at it, because you may be surprised. It ain't so pretty in there anymore.
That's right. That's exactly right. Well,
Actually, Survival had done that. I did flint and steel, and I tied my arm up and only used it with one hand one day just to see. And I'm going to explain this. It can be done because you got to be persistent to do it, but don't think you're just going to whip that thing out like it was nothing. It's not so easy.
that's right.
Someone had done a challenge on it, about 3 years ago. And I said, I'll try this. And it was kind of easier for me, I guess, maybe because I'm ambidextrous on a lot of things. So I can strike with my left or my right. But what I ended up doing, since I couldn't, I held the flint down here, you know, if it was tied up, and then I just hit it. But I put my char cloth, I kind of leaned way down and put my char cloth on a rock. And then I just had to, because to hold it and do that, it just wasn't working, you know. So yeah, it takes a while to get that.
That's true. Very true. I like flint and steel, and I tell you, you know, we practice a lot of these things. Truly, if we're out and there's a possibility of, you know, being out there for an extended period of time, then, you know, we need to know how to do flint and steel. We need to know how to work a ferrocerium rod and things like that. But I find things like the bow drill, which I know how to do the bow drill. I've done the bow drill and all that. It's very challenging, but it's not something I want to do all the time out there trying to start a fire in the woods. I do it primarily, just like I said, it's in homage to the folks that have gone before, and I just think that it's a good skill to learn. To be a well-rounded, what do you call them, a woodsman.
Woodsman. A gentleman, he kind of turned me onto this subject a few months ago on one of my videos, and he explained it, you know, and until he did, I really, I was more into there for a while. I think I've watched every video up until about the last year, maybe, of Dave Canterbury's. Because in the beginning, I enjoyed them. The yurt, you know, the teepee, the beginning whenever he first started making, before he went to the show and stuff, the spider shelters and things like that. It just brought me back to where I wanted to be. And then he kind of got into the trapping and stuff, and I thought, well, this will be cool. And then, as all people that, you know, do this for a living, and I understand it, he had to go where the money was at, because this is his living. This is what keeps his family going. And I get that. It just wasn't as appealing to me, but it still is for the other 300,000 viewers that watch it, you know. But those were the things that I'm not seeing anymore. And Derek had made a comment a couple of weeks back. I think it is good for us that make channels to go back, and like Allen does it, you know, he'll go out and do some of his camping and stuff, and then sometimes he'll just make the teepee. It's good to go back and see those things to refresh you, and then put you back in that perspective to want to go out and do it yourself, so that you kind of keep reliving. It's also good for that new person that comes in and sees 9,000 different channels that are bushcrafters or woodsmans, or, you know, whatever the name is, and then all they're seeing is review, 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 review. And then what do? I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. And next thing you know, you're sitting there with about $5,000 worth of stuff that gets used once.
That's right. Jeremy Woodward comments and says, I get what you're saying, Crash, and don't disagree, but I think of bushcraft as more modern version of just plain primitive skills. Bushcraft, just a mix of primitive and modern ways. Now, that's what we talked about when we first opened the show up, is the end, what we all think bushcraft really is. And so, anyway, I respectfully, I just respect Jeremy for saying what he thinks.
I do. That's what
you
the
know,
show was about tonight. We want to hear what everybody's is so we can all kind of come up and put our collaborations together and see if we're right or if we're wrong or what we might need to work on to be more of it, to be with everything with it.
If I could just indulge me here, forgive me, okay, because I've got horrible handwriting. There's a definition. This is mine. This is what mine actually is, and it's based upon guys' very limited experience. I do not claim to be an expert. There are several definitions of what bushcraft actually is because some of its attributes spill over into other activities like survivalism, hunting, trapping, backpacking, and camping, just to name a few. As I understand it from my experience and from what I've learned, bushcraft is a vast skill set driven activity used for the purpose of enabling one to be self-sufficient and empowered to allow one to survive and live in the wilderness for a length of time with a relative degree of comfort, where he's not just thrown to the four winds. This comfort, I'm real big on the comfort thing in the woods because I'm getting old and I like to be comfy. But anyway, this comfort comes from using the skill set to make items in and from the wilderness to replicate basic features that we have and enjoy in our homes, like warmth, dryness, or let's just warmth. Let's just say body temperature regulation, food, security, resting places, and the like. Bottom line is the bushcrafter should be able to set up a shelter, make a fire, purify water, and catch, hunt, collect food. And often overlooked, and this is something we don't talk about a whole heck of a lot, is self-protection, to be able to protect him or herself from dangers in the wilderness. All from a basic kit. We make these items, and also from the land itself. That's my definition.
I think it's a good one. I think the regulating of the body temperature and the climate control, it's like when you're saying, being able to do that in the wilderness is something that a lot of people, don't spend a lot of time in. We go out and we realize, okay, I'll put a tarp up. There's a difference between a ravine and on top of the ravine for heat. There's also a difference between the top of it and the bottom for cold in the winter. Knowing where to be and knowing where to put your shelter at can make all the difference in the world, not just by putting it up on a, like a game trail or something. And I know Allen, we've kidded him and stuff about that, but sometimes it's hard not to have to put one up, in an area that's sticker briars and stuff in his situation. You may just have to brave it.
I agree completely. Another thing that's important, something that I think about is, we define what bushcraft is, but do we really know why we do it? Now that's the thing. I mean, we can just go ahead and give a superficial definition of, well, it's interesting, well, it's fun, well, it's something to do. But I have a few reasons that I would really appreciate some input on, because I'm a why kind of guy. A definition doesn't just do it for me. I want to know why. We're going to use this carbon steel for this knife. I want to know why are we going to use this? That kind of thing. Okay. The reasons why to begin learning bushcraft, or they're just as varied, I believe, as the people who practice bushcraft and wilderness skills. I think it's connecting with what we have now is a shrinking natural world. And so we want to connect with that by simply getting out in it and seeing it. Let's face it, people, to a huge degree, the woods are drying up. They're disappearing. Get it while you can, because we don't have any promise it's going to be there tomorrow.
You don't have any promise it's going to be owned by us anymore either.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Amen to that. I think another reason why people get into bushcraft is the personal challenge of learning something new. People like to learn things. We're thinking people, human beings. We're a thinking animal. So this is a whole new skill set that people can learn at their own pace, on their own time, and gain a big feeling of empowerment when they do. I mean, it's empowering, knowing that, hey, something happens, I know what to do when I get out in the woods. I'm not worried about it. Don't have, that kind of thing. Another thing I believe, we're interested because of family traditions. Family traditions. Dad did it. Grandpa did it. My brother did it. My uncles did it. That's why I do it. Then the other thing I think is the wow factor. Wow factor. A little element of danger in there, getting out in the woods, especially by yourself for your first couple of solo camps. It's a little, you feel that little dangerous element there. Whether the danger is real or perceived, you still feel it. And then some people get a charge out of it. I do. I mean, ain't no sense in lying about it. I do. But we also get a thrill out of learning a new skill and practicing it, or a new piece of gear. That's fun. Playing with toys. And some people, I know one person in particular, that he's really very much into history, historical elements of that. And we can connect. I mean, how can you know how George Washington and Valley Forge felt if you ain't been camping out there in the freezing cold? How the hell you know? You don't. You don't.
And you can speculate all day, but you're not going to know it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But for me, I think it's the overwhelming thing is why people get into bushcraft. And I'm not talking about YouTube bushcrafters. I'm talking about the pure heart, the person that maybe doesn't have a YouTube channel, don't give a damn about having a YouTube channel, but's got a heart for being out in the woods. I think it's because we come from the earth. We're part of the earth. I'm not a tree hugger or nothing like that. I'll chop one down in a minute and kill the squirrel that's walking up there. But we are part of this earth, and we're hardwired to love the woods. I believe that. We're hardwired to explore and observe and experience everything that this natural world has to offer. And bushcraft is an excellent excuse or reason to do just that kind of thing. Now, said my piece.
Well, don't stop preaching now.
Yeah.
Amen on that one. Keep going.
Amen. No.
You need a better pulpit, don't you?
Yeah, buddy. Yes, sir. Good stump.
There's a lot of good comments coming up here, and I think the majority of the folks are pretty much just like what we're talking about. You get that sense of pride when you do it yourself, and knowing that if something happens, whatever it may be, whether it's, doesn't matter, that you can take care of the family, in a much better situation than not doing it. And when you said something a while ago about being hardwired, I think every man, even those that have never stepped foot outside, whenever you take kids like with the Boy Scouts and stuff and the Cub Scouts, and you take them out and they're whining and crying because they want to get to the Minecraft or they're wanting to get to something else, after day 2, every one of them are ecstatic about staying.
That's right.
Not one of them. I don't care. Even my son, and he can sit in there in his room and watch Netflix and cartoons and play his Minecraft, play on the computer all day long. When we hit the woods, he becomes a total different kid I mean, he's ready to make fire. He's ready to roast marshmallows. He's ready to put the tent up. He's ready to go out there and get firewood. He wants to see, when he sees a squirrel, the first thing he grabs is a slingshot. He hasn't hit one yet, but when he does, it's on.
Better believe it. That's right. And even things that you see, children. Here's another reason why I honestly believe we're hardwired to do it, because you get a 2-year-old and you put them outside. Of course, you could say, well, a kid's going to play with anything. They're going to, anything they can come in contact. Okay, let's jump to 4 years old. That 4-year-old child still, when he gets out into the woods, promise you, or heck, even just outside, he's going to want to play in that grass, going to want to taste dirt. He's going to want to taste it. He's going to want to eat a little bit of it. He's going to want to pick up a bug. He's going to want to fool with the bug. He's going to learn something one way or the other from the bug, whether it stings or it don't. But he's going to have his own little adventure at 4 years old and even younger. We are part of this world in a real way, in a real sense. And I think somewhere along the line with technology, we've lost sight of that kind of thing. And that's what I really love about a show like this, about it's such a forum to where you can speak to like-minded people. And, going back to another point about somebody was criticizing, well, somebody that I know quite personally criticizes, well, everybody shows how to make a fire. Everybody wants to show how to strike a ferrocerium rod and all this kind of thing. Well, you know what? Not everybody knows how to do that. But everybody that's interested in nature and the woods and coming in new to this kind of thing, they want to know. So make your videos about striking a ferrocerium rod. Make a video about how to set a tarp up. Make a video about a sleeping bag or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because there are people out there that they want to learn.
And that's another thing is in the management field, not everybody learns from the same person. Somebody may do something that will actually be better to teach someone than someone else actually can. There's so many different channels. Some of the channels that I love, they do something, I wasn't that impressed with it. But someone else can do it the exact same way, and the way they brought it across, boom, I like that.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Whenever you had said, coming from the earth and stuff, when I get a chance and I get the opportunity to go out, there is no better way than getting in the woods, and you had said something about, the spooks and this and that. And I'm no tough guy by no means, but when I hit the woods, that's the best piece that I have. When I hear the coyotes yelping, whenever of course, now I don't have a lot of bear population, so things could be different. If I had grizzly bears out in the woods, I may be a little more skeptical. But where I'm at and the comfort of it, when I'm there, I don't have any stress. I don't have any worries. I'm not, it's just boom, I'm there. It's like it's gone. And, I hate the day that I have to pack up.
Yeah, that's the worst part about it, period, for a lot of reasons. But I know what you mean about the sleeping and the resting thing. I think for most people, newbies especially, and like if I tell you what, just being buck naked honest, I'd gone, I guess, about 2 years because of work and personal endeavors, where hell, I didn't even see the woods. I mean, get out in it. You know what I mean?
I went 6 years.
Yeah. Then I got back in there, and that first doggone night, I was a little jumpy, like, oh. But buddy, all that stuff, it's amazing how it's like riding a bike. It just comes back and just, next thing you know, you just start feeling your shoulders drop and you just melt into that peace, you know. I sleep so much better in the woods. I just do. I saw some logs. Remember,
Even when I wake up with a cold back, I'm still more comfortable.
I know it. I know it. I know it. Somebody needs to, talk about a cold back. I was thinking about hammocks. Some of these industrious people, particularly like Bruce. I know that Bruce is out there with Nature Calls. Bruce, if you get a chance, buddy, make an apparatus you can put on your shoulders, almost like a shoulder strap that's got a little padding in it, because I freeze to death in my shoulders when I'm sleeping.
One of the things that I've never understood why someone hasn't made one yet, and that's a solar blanket hammock. That it's just built into it. I don't know how they would do it, but just having that just built in. I guess maybe because most people don't want no big shiny thing out there in the middle of the woods, but
yeah,
I'll take shiny over cold any day.
Me too. Thank you. That's right. That's right. But yes, sir.
Whenever my take as far as being bushcraft is, may even have to change the name of the channel one day, but I think I'm more of a woodsman, just straight up. I practice the crafts, the bushcraft and stuff as it's called now, but my passion is primitive. But primitive is not something you just go out and start tonight. It takes many years of working on it. It takes many fails, and it takes time, and it takes a lot of time, and I don't have the time. When I retire at 55, I got 9 more years, 8 more years now. If this channel's still around, that's all you're going to see.
I hear you.
Because I'll have the time to do it. But at this point now, I don't have the time to be that so-called what I consider to be bushcraft.
Well, that's what it takes. I mean, all of this takes time.
Only Manland would say that.
That's right. Excuse me. Talking about the interest in why we do bushcraft and everything, and I'd like to just make one little brief thing. We talked about it sort of yesterday. I just think it's interesting how interests in certain activities and human behavior are cyclical in nature. Way back when, we had the settlers, pioneers, and so forth that came over here and carved a little piece of land, made their own homes. And then when we became more of an industrial economy and new inventions were made and daily living and amenities increased, the comfort level there, and people were running out of the woods, getting into the cities and I'm speaking just in America. And then you've got people like Henry Ford that came out, that mass-produced the automobile, that was an avid camper, camped with people like Thomas Edison in 1919, started a huge movement. And then you had people coming out of the cities, back out into the woods, doing the car camping, glamping kind of thing. But it was a resurgence of interest in outdoor activities, which is just phenomenal, that we haven't seen happen again until today. In part, and mainly, I would say, from avenues like YouTube and reality shows like like Alone and some others like that we talked about. And so right now we're in a very exciting time, and I just want people to know that you're in it. You're in it. The time is right now. You're in the hot zone. this is the time and the place to be.
I see it. Someone tuned in. Is it Australia or I think Sue Survival had said her son had tuned in. I'm not sure where AU is.
I don't either.
I don't know. I'm not very, but I'm assuming it's probably pretty far away.
Well, for me, if it's past Gulfport, it's a hell of a long way. I'm going to tell you that. About 5 miles down the road.
Auburn University. Okay.
There we go. Awesome. Cool. Cool. All right.
Well, welcome, Isaiah.
Absolutely.
And I will be seeing your football team here in the next few weeks, but it'll be all right. This time, y'all are not going to win. Every year, a friend of mine and my wife, and she went to Auburn, and my wife went to Georgia and stuff, but we go down and we watch every year. That's my wife's birthday is November the 15th. So the game's always around the 13th to the 17th, maybe the 18th. And no, heck no. No Bama fan, that's for sure. I didn't jump the bandwagon. But we go down, and the one thing, and no pun intended for you, Isaiah, the one thing that I have noticed about Auburn fans, and this is totally off the subject, if they go to losing, and I kid you not, I've seen about 14 of these games in the last 20 years. If Auburn goes to losing, and if you're on that side, because we've done it 3 of the 4 times that we've went with just her, you're the only people over there. And I'm talking about before halftime. I could pick those orange and blue pom-poms up and sell them like crazy next year. I'd have 15,000 of them. But I ain't beating up on you. Number one is you're already going to a good school, because it is a very good school.
It is. It is. That's true.
And anybody that takes the time and gets the education right now, that's something other that is very important.
Believe it.
But I think we all have our thoughts on what it is. My thought, whatever it is that you do, keep making those videos, keep putting them out there, keep watching those videos, keep supporting those channels that you enjoy and you like, and learn something. And if you want to be bushcraft, be bushcraft. If you want to be a woodsman, be a woodsman. If you want to be a camper, be a camper. Just get out there and enjoy what was given to us while we can.
Absolutely. And everybody, whether they know it or not, has something to contribute. You know,
Oh, yes.
We're put into this world for what we can put into it, not what we can take out of it. You know, we're all here to make a contribution, you know. And we have a responsibility, I think, just as human beings to help others, teach others, you know. Somebody taught us, you know, why not pass it along?
That's the key. I think that's it right there. It's somewhere along the line, we forgot to keep teaching. And it happened with the groups. I think the 80s, the end of the 80s is when it happened. You know, one of my favorite channels to watch is a young man, JD Outside.
Absolutely.
I just, it is, to see him from the first time that I seen him was whenever he won the, I can't remember what it was called now.
The Samaritan Scholar.
Yes. When he won that, it was the first video that I had seen of his. And Louise, Florida, she had turned me over to it and, you know, tell me about that she was making some stuff for it. And when it posted, it came out, and I watched him, and very little skill, not picking at him or beating him or anything. But over the year and a half, probably about a year now, I guess, this kid can do stuff that grown men cannot do. His sister is in it. His mother is supporting him. you know, takes them camping, takes them out to the parks. And, you know, that's another thing. To me, whether it's a park or whether it's the forest out by your house, whether it's the 5 acres your granddaddy still had, being out there, it doesn't, I mean, getting away from modern is just so cool.
It certainly is. I'm just inspired by that young man. And I tell you what, that little fella can cook.
Yes, he can. I can't watch his channel and not be hungry. If I'm hungry,
Oh,
I tear my refrigerator apart looking for something.
that's right.
Allen, I've said it before, it's re-energizing us. When we get out, it just re-energizes. I mean, even if it's just a one night, overnight, take off, go, it just re-energizes us.
Oh yeah.
I seen the 5 pound backpack, 5 pound carry all. I'm not sure. I've seen a couple of videos here and there. To me, that's close to getting to the basic, being able to survive with the bare minimum, because as you've seen, all the stuff is behind us. You said it and we talked about it. We have so much gear and we have stuff because I have 5, 6, 7. I have 8 cook kits. I use one 95% of the time. Now I'm using another one, which is the Billy Pot, the can by Morris Kachansky. I've really started using it quite a bit. But, oh man, that's a great cook set. I need one of those. Oh, there's one at the flea market. I'll get that one. Oh, here's one at the store. It's cheap. Wait a minute, go to a website and order this thing. And then next thing you know, they said over here and they said over here. And then I'm going camping. Well, I'm going to be gone for about 4 days. So I'm going to take all this. And then you get out there and you never use it. And backpacking, whenever I took that 5 days that I took and left about 3 years ago, I took off on the Pinhoti Trail and I was going to walk it. It's about 28 miles, the distance that I was going, and I was going to stay gone for 5 days. I couldn't imagine all the stuff anymore that I put in that backpack. I mean, it was bulging. I mean, I could not have squeezed air back in it. That's how much stuff it was in it, you know. And do you know what I carried for clothing?
What's that?
One extra pair of pants, some underwear, and some
Yeah.
socks. But yeah, I had 5 cook kits in that thing.
You better believe it.
I had a lantern in that thing. I had 2 extra bottles. Years and years ago, a friend of mine, we would hike across Pigeon Mountain 5 or 6 times a year. And it was just amazing. When we were young, we didn't have anything. And, you know, we would take us, like the North Face is behind me, a backpack about that size. I got a little bit older and I came into some money that I got a good job. I'll go buy it. Next thing you know, we're going to go on a 4-day hunting trip. You know, they opened up the mountain to go hunting over there.
Right.
Rifle, 20 rounds of ammunition, plus another 20 rounds inside the backpack. You know, 5 cans of chili, 24, 25 bottles of water, you know, 2 or 3 cook kits, like meats. I mean, I would dare, I don't know how much that backpack weighed, but I think that's why my back's bad now. I would dare not say that it was at least 85, 90 pounds. He'll tell you, get him on here one day. We walked less than 1/8 of a mile and we put up camp. 1/8 of a mile and we set camp up. We walked back to the truck that night. Walked back up to the truck. It took us less than 15 minutes to walk back to the truck. That's as far as we got that night. We was dumping canned goods out, you know, throwed the water.
Heavy, man.
It was too heavy. We finally, when we got done, we were down to about 40 pounds and it was still heavy, you know, a little bit out of shape too.
Right.
I know all about the video gear. I think that's what causes me when I go out to make videos and stuff and I'm going to camp and stuff. There's every bit of 15 pounds of it's just video gear.
Good Lord. Good Lord.
But you get out there and there's nothing worse than batteries going dead. You know, you got solar chargers so you can get them charged back up. Then you got to make sure that you carried, you know, a couple of tripods, and then you got 4 cameras, and then, you know, you got a bag. Then you got the waterproof bags for each one of them for those that are not waterproof. And next thing you know, those little 1 pound cameras become 2 pounds to 3 pounds, and you got 4 of them. Now you got 12 pounds, and then you got to have a couple of tripods. It's just, but in the end, it's all worth it whenever you get that one view and that one comment that says they liked it, or you even get that one that says I'm a blooming idiot. So, you know,
You know, there's a lot of those British guys over there. I'm just going to name a couple or three. Pete Mindwiseman, Armored Cockroach, Funky Prepper. Have you guys ever seen the amount of gear that those guys bring with them? It defies the imagination.
I tell you, one of them, um, Bob 8008 Night,
Yeah,
when he takes a backpack, this man takes a backpack. I mean, he's got like an Alice pack that is loaded for 5 years of war.
yeah,
And because he has all of the, you know, he's out there making the videos and stuff, but he's got a good setup too.
I like his channel a lot. I really do.
I think Survival Willie,
Oh yeah,
to get out there, Survival had made the comment. She has a video or a camp nearby, and it's her video set. And I think that is a good one, you know, for someone that's going to make the videos and stuff.
I do too. Definitely. Uh, was you? No, are we still talking about closing this thing out? And after an hour, are you still on?
A few more minutes if you got something you want to talk about.
Well,
I won't be on here at 12 o'clock. You might be, but I won't.
no, I won't either. I can assure you that it's a school night.
Yeah,
But
there's Bob 808 Night. See, he'll tell you. Yes, he
yeah,
does.
yeah, man, he's got a great channel.
Yes.
I can't help but do this, but I got to put in a quick plug, right quick, for our little first annual Southern Bushcraft Rendezvous to be held in Morton, Mississippi, October 16th, 17th, and 18th. All are invited. And if you're looking for more information for this event, we have a Facebook page, and it's, you know, as again, first spelling number 1 ST. Very important. Annual Southern Bushcraft Rendezvous. We would appreciate any and everybody attending. It's going to be a good time. We've got a big lineup of people already. The guest list is growing. We've got, I mean, we even got a guy, you guys may know him. Mark was scouting free, flying in all the way from Germany. Come over there and sit down and chew the fat with us in Mississippi. It'd be awesome to see all of you out there. That's it.
I think it's going to be a good thing. I mean, it's kind of like a YouTube community and Facebook as well, you know, with some of the other ones it's there. But it's the guys and the gals that we sit and we watch, and we've grown to love, we've grown to admire, you know, and they get that opportunity to come out there and share those skills and just have a good time.
That's right.
Just reading a lot of these comments on there.
Uh,
I know we didn't get to answer a lot of the comments, but I was keeping an eye, kind of reading over here and stuff, and we briefly touched on it. It was, you know, it's what it is. Every one of us have our own style, and no one person's right, no one person's wrong with it. If you're going out and having a good time, and you're learning whatever it is that you're doing, I think that's the whole key to it is any skill that you learn that'll help you while out there that you can even bring back home and use at the house, use at the home, use in the middle of the city. I,
Absolutely.
one of my goals, and I've heard a lot of people talk about it on here, is I guess a bucket list sort of that people talk about. I would like to go spend, and I know, and I don't want to sound disrespectful or anything like that because of, but those that are homeless that live in the cities, you would be amazed at what you could learn from these people.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Those fellows know how to survive for sure.
yes, I mean, whatever the reason that it is behind it, you know, some of the stuff that I've just heard about, and I've kind of talked to a few that have some of the skills that they have that they learn from other people. You know, to me, it would just be, you know,
I happen to know a fellow that lives down by the river over here, Biloxi River.
in a van.
Uh, anyway, he wants to go camping with me, of all things. But I want to go over there and see his camp. I want to see exactly how that guy lives. It's going to be interesting. I don't know if I'll, document it or not, but I guarantee you one thing: I'm going to learn something because I mean, buddy, this guy lives in a tent, and man, we have some hell of a summer squalls that come through here with, I mean, winds, rain. My Lord. And this guy, this isn't his first rodeo. He's about 56 years old, and he's done this for a long time. And so you're absolutely right. I'm just uh, agreeing with your statement about people in urban environments and even people in country environments that are homeless. Man, if you want to know how to survive, talk to one of those guys. They'll tell you.
There's a gentleman. There's When you turn down the road that I live on,
Hmm.
there was an old building that was at one time a beer store. It's kind of like a package store back in the 70s and the 80s, and it finally petered out in the early 90s. And it's just a old block building. And I've never paid any attention to this building that much because it was just grown up. Well, over
Right.
the last 4 or 5 months, my wife and my son go up there quite often and they drop food off. There's a guy that moved into it and he's cleaning it out. And I reckon that he either it was willed to him or donated to him, or he's just, I don't know, squatting in it. I'm not sure. But they'll just stop by there. But everybody kind of rides by there and drops him food off or, stuff like that. But he's a good guy. I mean, he's smart. Actually, was an engineer, according to what he told the wife and my son. But he's older, maybe 55, 60, maybe even older than that. But the other day was the first time. It just goes to show you how little we pay attention to a lot of it.
Oh yeah.
But there's a freaking tree growing through the roof. I never knew because that tree, I just assumed it. I never looked at it good. I assumed the tree was growing beside it, but it's not. It's growing through the middle. There is no roof about 12 foot by 8 foot on that side. And he's living inside of this. Well, the other day, he was out there with another young man and they got a blue tarp and they put it over it. They stretched the whole thing over. So apparently he must have got it cleared out enough in there. And then, but all the other times he had left that tree in there. And another guy that I work with said that he went up there and he asked him about that tree. He said, "You need some help cutting it down?" He said, "No, but by the fall, I'll need to go ahead and get it cut down or get it cut out if you'd like to come back and help." And he had asked him, he said, "Well, why the fall?" And he said, "Well, why in the God's creation would I want to cut it down now whenever it's giving me perfect shade and it's keeping the rain out of the inside?"
There you go. There you go.
It just, that little bitty,
That common sense, that common
yes,
horse sense.
you know, it's shaded over it. It's shading the inside of the building, but it also keeps the rain from just pouring in because the tree grew out over. So it's just running off the leaves and onto the outside of it.
Right.
But just that little, click. Well, I guess I wouldn't have cut it down either.
Yeah, that's right. Ramsey says, I spent 2 years homeless in a city and 2 years homeless in the wood after I got out of high school just to see what it was like and prove to myself that I could. That's incredible, man. That is seriously incredible. That's
Tim
all.
and I, we've become friends over the last 2.5 years. If he ever starts watching, and this is not a pun or anything, it's actually a good thing. If he ever starts watching your videos, he will start at the beginning to the end, and your channel will be the channel that he watches until he's done.
How about that?
He will watch every video you have. If you go back and look at my videos and start at the beginning and come back, you will see him somewhere on it. Now, he did say that with Allen's, it's going to take a while. He couldn't just do that because he's got over 550 videos. But it was just something that I thought I would throw out there. But I wanted, because I know that Louise, generally, she watches it. I have a package for her that I'm going to put in the mail Friday afternoon after work. Finally got it done. Also, Tim. And these things are been going on for about 9 months to a year now. They've been done. I've been lazy. I apologize. Just haven't gotten out there to doing it. But they're going in the mail Friday. But I am going to get with Louise and make sure she hasn't moved yet before I send it. So, Louise, when you watch this, it's coming. And Tim, you're on here, you'll know that it's coming. But I put a few extra things in there too. But that was all that. That's all I got to say about that.
Heck yeah. My little old dog is about to aggravate the stew meat out of me. She keeps, Lord.
Brad Allen has a video that he was doing, and you have to go find it in there. And I know he's got it on there. You have never seen aggravation until you've seen his cat. I think it's Chubbs or Chums. I can't remember the cat's name. He had put icy hot on his foot.
Oh, no. I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. And that cat kept attacking his foot.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And you couldn't beat it better because when Brad goes to laughing, it's just something else. I mean, it was killing him, but he couldn't stop it.
I know.
He's also got a video where he's feeding a pet squirrel through the door. And the squirrel, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it took it out of his hand finally at his apartment.
Poor Brad.
Now, I tell you what, he had the life for a whole week.
Why is that?
He went camping, him and his girlfriend, Angie. They went camping, and they posted it up on Facebook as much as they could of it. But she kept saying that it was raining, and she said, trying to talk him into going down to the Mexican restaurant. It sounds good, but he's dead set he's going to get this fire going, and he's man cooking. And he did. When I go out there, I like to cook. I mean, that's just me. I like to cook.
Yes, you do. I've seen your videos. You do.
It's just because that's what I would do if I was living there. I would have to eat, and I would have to cook, and I would have to know how to cook because it's different.
I love to do it too. I sure do.
And I've learned,
much of a rush, though. It depends on how quick I get out there and everything, and what kind of rush I'm in. Sometimes when I go camping, it's a spur of the moment thing, and what I'll do, I'll just grab bug out food. But even that, I try to make it palatable, make it taste good.
I'm one of those that will either hit my freezer, or as I'm going by, I will run into Wally World or somewhere else, and I'll go over to the meat section, and I'll go ribeye, T-bone,
There you,
smoked sausage. Oh,
there
I
you,
gotta have breakfast,
there you
and
go.
I'll just pick it up. I figure it's 10 minutes, 15 if I'm really not going.
Well, you just reminded me that it's 10 minutes to the Waffle House tonight.
Well,
So all this breakfast talk you doing get me pretty.
I'm fortunate. I would weigh 400 pounds if we still had a Waffle House or a Huddle House.
That's just ordained by God to eat. There, that's some fine stuff.
Leah, we used to have a, yeah. Are you familiar with a Huddle House?
Yes, sir.
All right. Those Huddle burgers back in the day when I was younger, in my 20s, we would take and come back from wherever we was at late at night. There was no better grease than the grease on that burger.
The Hut,
No,
I remember them. Heck yeah. And I liked their chicken and eggs they had. It was pretty good.
that's something other I've noticed too. Some of your restaurants, your bigger chains can do it, but recently you have to have a permit or a license to cook eggs sunny side up.
That's what I heard.
You
Because,
can't just, like you go to a mom and pops, they can't do it. They will if you know them. I've had it happen, but
yeah,
I'm not going to mention any names. But, but they said you have to have a permit or some kind of specialty thing.
right. Some kind of disclaimer to let people know that there's a risk of salmonella or
Yeah.
what and all that. Yeah, it's a dang shame. Isn't it something the way food is nowadays? Remember a long time ago, like we had Sunday dinner, you know, after church, and when you got through eating Sunday dinner, nothing went back in the refrigerator except maybe something cold to drink or whatever, and you just put your a linen cloth or something like that over it, and you didn't worry about it till supper time. Man, if you do that stuff with the food we got nowadays, there's no telling what would happen. You know it?
I work in a grocery store and I hear it all the time, or I heard it. And I just recently started working in a grocery store. I'd worked for another retail chain in furniture and stuff and electronics for years. And so I never really thought nothing about it. But people still don't realize that meat that they put out there, there's several people that do not know that came from that cow. They think that's just man-made.
Yeah.
The other thing is you don't buy in a chain grocery store. When you buy your meats and stuff, those things are gassed. I mean, all of them, every grocery store out there, they're gassed to keep them preserved. And
With what? What are you gassing with?
don't quote me 100% because I probably screwed this up, but I was told carbon monoxide gas.
Could be.
I don't know that if that's the case.
Well,
But
that kind of makes sense because if you think about what oxidation is the presence of oxygen that breaks stuff down.
there's nothing wrong with the meat. I mean, it's all good meat,
Right.
but it's
not
the way
healthy.
they preserve it.
Right. Huh.
But
That's wild.
the first time that I realized it and never knew it, I'd walked into the meat department back there, and they had cut a whole loin for a beef loin for T-bones and other stuff, and he had just cut that wrapper off of it. And I was like, "Oh, good God!" I said, "They sent you a bad one or something?" And he goes, "No." And I said, "That stinks to the high heavens." And he said, "It's the gases." And he never told me what kind of gases it was. Another guy that worked there later on told me, and he sounds pretty credible, but I don't know. But if that's what it was. But I said, "There's no way I'd eat that." And he said, "Well, you ate one yesterday, didn't you?" But after about 30 minutes, it was. I grew up. My dad owned a meat processing plant, so we grew up. It hit the floor. It got skinned out. It got gutted. It got hung. And when he put a steak on your plate, I can guarantee you that was not a lick of gas ever touched it unless it was the gas I breathed on it. You know,
Manland Art Chandler seconds your what you said. He said, "Yep, that's true," because I know that he
he's a
manages.
grocery man too.
That's right, and he said carbon monoxide. Dadgummit.
But I mean, it's not. I mean, don't go freaking out and quit buying all your stuff because you've been eating it for the last 15, 20 years. So,
That's right. Believe me, I ain't shook. I'm not ain't. I'm scared of going hungry.
Yeah.
But I'm scared of eating that. But,
That's one thing I can say about our store. Whenever, say, if someone brought meat up and they couldn't afford it, or whatever, their cards didn't work, or whatever, the owner of that store, he has made it specific, and I'm not giving him a tie, but
right.
it does not sit in that buggy. You got about 3 minutes to get it back, you know. And I have seen what they were talking about. You go into stores and meat has been setting up in a buggy for hours, you know, and then they go take it and put it back out. And boy, he's picky about that kind of stuff. I mean, he runs a good operation. Sometimes he can be mean or not mean, but a lot of people take him the wrong way. But, you know, that's his money. That's his retirement.
That's right. His life on the line.
A young man asked me one day, he said, I bet he is just loaded. And I said, well, from my understanding, when you open a business up, you pay yourself a decent salary, and you better hope that you can make that business last until you retire and you sell it, and there's your money. But up until that, you penny pinching, trying to make that business stay afloat to where you can sell it when you get ready.
That's right.
Because all your money got invested in getting it. To open a Save-A-Lot is $796,000. Plus, you have to buy your own refrigeration units. And you got to have that $796,000 up front.
Lord.
And that's just a Save-A-Lot. I can only imagine what it would be for something else.
Ain't that the truth? Like a Winn-Dixie or something like that.
Yeah. I worked for Save-A-Lot. Somebody had asked me. I decided I wanted out of the 65, 70 hour week management.
Hey, y'all.
Howdy.
She gonna get a whooping in a minute.
Well, at least she didn't come by. Normally, it's always happens. Alan's wife comes by in her bathrobe and waves.
Lord have mercy.
Ain't nothing to be embarrassed about. If my wife was to come in here, she'd be like, would you shut up?
That's right. That's right. Well, tell you what, you better bring me something to eat, or they're going to be a killing. Won't be on YouTube. It might be on the early morning edition over here in Gulfport.
Yeah. Well, it's now 11:20, and we've kind of veered out of the subject, and I think we've all, we've kind of gotten to where we.
I brought him a biscuit to eat.
She bring you a biscuit?
I'm going to knock her out. I'm telling you, I'm going to knock her out. You buddy. But anyway, I agree. Yeah. With this thing's kind of run its course. I know Kelly's just run her course, and anyway. Lord have mercy.
But I'm gonna go ahead and we'll call it for tonight. I appreciate everybody that stopped in and watched. I mean, I appreciate every one of them that come by and watch it, and those that get to watch it later on. Um, but it's just something that we kind of came up with on a brief spur of the moment about what is the difference in our opinions and everyone else's, and I think everybody had good ideas. I mean, they have the whole key to it is do what you enjoy, and you don't have to worry about being labeled, or being the best at anything that you do. When you make the video, learn it, do it, and let us see it. I mean, that's the key to it.
That's exactly right. Sharing it. Uh, one of my final thought on the whole subject is that we talked about um, bushcrafters, woodsmen, enthusiasts, gearheads, people like that. What you find sometimes, a lot of people dividing a little bit. One group criticizing this group, criticizing this group, criticizing this group. The truth is, we ought to all kind of, in reality, come on, we all make the whole machine work as far as keeping the interest alive in this thing that we do. So the next time people kind of wants to romp on somebody, maybe that they think, well, this person maybe isn't as skilled, or this person is all about this or that. Well, just remember that we all make it work. And show.
That's the key. I don't. I'm one of those that if I watch a video and if it wasn't something that I was impressed with, or if it wasn't something that I thought it was going to be, I don't bash anybody. I mean, because, and that's just my nature, though. I don't. Now, Alan, I do. I bash on him because we're close.
Alan's fun to bash.
You know, but
Alan's tough enough to take it.
I don't sit and say, no, dude, you're totally wrong. This is not right. You can't do this. You can't do that. If I thought that they were doing something that's going to get them hurt, and I've done it and got myself hurt, I might send them a private message, but I wouldn't dare put it on their channel because I want them to make videos. I want to see it because 6 months from now, if you watch my first videos, I had no clue what the heck I was doing. I shouldn't have even had a camera. And I've sometimes watched some of my videos today and go, well, what was you thinking? But I get to do it. I get that brief 10 minutes of fame that I feel accomplished about, and someone else, watches it. And my biggest video was done in my building, and it was just talking about bushcraft. What's a good knife? But that wasn't my goal with it. My goal was to tell you, don't worry about what knife you got to have. Don't listen to the hype. Don't go out and spend all of your dollars on this one knife that's going to make the world of difference, because that's not going to make the world of difference. It's going to help you tremendously, if it is a good quality knife, but it doesn't have to be. Those old hickory knives, I guarantee you can beat that sucker slap to death and it's still going to go under $13 in any store anywhere, and it'll do what it's anything you need to do while you're out there. But learn the skills without having to have all of those. And that's kind of brings us back to bushcraft, is if you learn all of those skills while you have those knives, if you already have them, or you have those axes, or you have those nice cook kits, go out there, be safe, learn it, and then take a piece of that gear out and make it the next time that you go, or when you feel comfortable to do it. Then do something else, but still keep the safeness of what you need to survive while you're out there and learning it. And then eventually you end up as a so-called bushcrafter, of what the old term back in the 1800s would have been, you know, which I don't remember the name that they called it, but it's basically being able to sustain your own life with what God gave you, not what man made for you, you know, and just take that stuff out and learn to live without it and then go out and buy it if you don't have the money, you know, today.
That's right.
That's the truth, man, Lynn. No one will ever, ever know it all.
Amen.
And if you do know it all, you ain't got many friends.
Believe it.
But if you're done, I'm done. Again, thank everybody that stepped in here and gave us your thoughts on it and helped us get another week through this here.
I want to thank you for having me again, Michael. Very much enjoyed it. And doggone shame Alan couldn't make it tonight. Do want to really quickly just give Alan a man.
Definitely. I mean,
settling in and taking care of business and taking care of mama and the place and everything. And you hang it
rough.
We miss you. Absolutely.
The talking with him on the phone and stuff, he's learning how to do things that he ain't never done before.
There you go.
Again, a shout out for YouTube. He gets on there when he don't know and he looks and see if somebody else has posted a video. You know, it ain't all about bushcraft and wilderness and this and that. YouTube offers quite an array of stuff for you to learn how to do. You know, I've learned how to put the fan belt or the serpentine belt on my Dodge Dakota. I've worked on that thing out there for an hour. I was about ready. I was about ready to jump the thing off and just drive until the battery went dead. But I got in here. I punched in how to change on a 1990 Dodge Dakota quad cab serpentine belt. Popped up 4 of them, and I watched the 3-minute video, walked back out there, and put it on in about 12 seconds.
There you go. That's right.
And if I hadn't seen that video, I probably never would have figured it out, because there's a lever, not a pulley system, not a pulley, but
not a tensioner.
Not a tensioner. It's a lever under the bottom that you pull, and when you pull that, it drops the alternator automatically down to where it loops up around it. But without it, you was never going to get it.
Doggone it.
And I never would have figured it out.
I drive one.
I also learned how to put front end under it, that I took it to Goodyear, told him it was out of line a little bit, and he said, your tie-in rods are out, your I can't remember what all, the whole front end had to be redone. And he gave me an estimate of like $3,800. And I said, the truck's not even worth $2,000.
Yeah.
It ain't worth $1,000. Now I'm not going to send another $3,800 into it and it not be worth but $2,100.
That's right.
So I went home, got on YouTube, and I looked how to put all that stuff on there, and got my grinder out and grinded the rivets out, put them in. It was the control arms, and I don't remember what all it was that I put in it, but done it all in 2 afternoons, and it costed me about $114 in parts.
It's a long way from 3,800.
I drove back over there that Friday afternoon, and I said, I got it done. He said, where'd you take it to? And I said, my backyard. And I said, it cost me about $150. And he said, well, it's not guaranteed. But I'm not knocking them, because they got to make money, you know.
That's right. That's right. Well, I reckon I'm going to go in there and eat me a biscuit. I think I am.
Well, thank everybody for stopping in. We're going to go ahead and stop the broadcast now. So thank you for stopping in and helping fill it in tonight, because
Oh, I enjoyed it.
It's so much easier when there's two than there is just one, because when there's just one, there's not a whole lot. But Alan and I, before we run off on this, Alan and I, we had talked about something. Mike Landreth, we'd all talked about doing some videos, and just post a comment on this video here if you're interested in it and you got to see the video and you're still on here. Anybody that knew him that would like to pop in one night and just say whatever it is that you'd like to say about memory or knowing him or anything like that. I was going to get with Alan and we talked about doing it, but just say you're willing to do it and we'll see how many that we have. And then we'll pop you in for a minute or so, let you say what you need, boot you out, not bad boot you out, but then let the next person come in and basically just have a show just for, I guess, a remembrance of Mike. I haven't had a chance to make a video. All the videos that you're seeing that's coming out last few weeks, other than the football game that my son played in, is actually stuff that was done in February, March, April, and May. I just finally got a computer fast enough to actually put it all together.
There you go.
So when you see a video come out in the middle of December and the bright green grass is out there and the trees are beautiful and I'm in a pair of shorts, don't think I'm stupid. Well, you're probably going to think that anyway, but that's it. You go eat your biscuit. And again, thanks everybody for stopping in.
Thank y'all. See you later.